first off, I want to get things straight. Clear the air, so to speak. I want to thank all of the women who have decided to send emotionally charged, sick, irrational messages to my boss over at naturalhealthycbd.com. Egocast has 10% off. You help me a lot, actually, when it comes down to it. But what you don't understand is that my boss is a woman, right? And my boss, like all other women, is sick. But my boss is in a far better place than many other women, because my boss has had my influence over her for a little while now. And I've been working with my boss trying to cure her of her sickness. But one other way that she excels beyond you basic bitches is she has self-realization. She understands the sickness because she has felt it take control of her quite literally. She knows what it's like when she sees or says, or, somebody says or does something or whatever that upsets her. And she gets emotional and she flies off and does stuff. And she gets in trouble. And she doesn't like that. So she is trying. You guys are not. When you send her these messages, it's awesome. It helps me a lot. Because then I can say, you see those crazy bitches doing that crazy bitch shit? And she goes, yeah, fucking crazy bitches. It's that same thing again. You gotta approach it like a friend. Unfortunately, that means that some of you must be upset so that we can have common enemy. But it's okay. I consider it casualties of war. Honestly, I see it as one of those things where you piss off so many women to help so many others, because then either A, one of those women you help will help those women, or B, I'll get to them later, right? What I'm trying to do is work it to where all women, at the very least, have the cure in their minds. They at least know, they have self-realization. I'm an emotional being. And when I go off on an emotional fucking tear, never is there a good result. Like, it's never good. It's never good when you just go off emotionally and just start being overly emotional and sick. It isn't good. Name me one time that shit has gotten you a legitimate leg up. Where it wasn't like, well, they caved because I was screaming and crying. That doesn't fucking count. You're an asshole if you try and count that. A legitimate time where you going off completely uncontrolled and overly emotional. When has that actually done you good? Alright? I imagine many people are going to be sitting there right now going, yeah, no. Because it doesn't help. It doesn't help to get overly emotional and freak out and get sick. So I can point to other ladies and go see those sick ladies, and then all these ladies will go, oh my God, yeah, I totally get it now. I understand what you're doing. And then when they do it, their husband, boyfriend, brother, father, it's a little awkward, friend, whatever, can look at them and go, hey, you know you're being sick right now, like that crazy bitch was before. And then hopefully they'll go, take a deep breath, take a fucking moment, pull your shit together, and stop thinking about the problem, and start thinking of a solution. It's it. It's amazing how that happens. You start rationalizing through things. Logic your way out of shit. Right? But, yeah. I want to get it down to where there's one, like, a small group of women left. just a cluster, little clusters here and there of sick women that are just uncontrolled sick women. Because at that point, when it's just small little groups here and there, all the well women can just gather them together and go, look, stop being sick. Because they will be outnumbered at that point. It'll be great. But I've seen some great strides. I have a lot of female support. My demographics, I noticed today, is back up to 76% women. Maybe I'm like the Jordan Peterson for women. Everybody says that Jordan Peterson always is talking to men about how the men need to do this, men need to do that, when it's just things that can be applied to anybody, whatever. And I'm talking about women and how fucking crazy y'all are and sick, and how you should get yourselves better. And that I don't know, maybe it seems to be resonating. I'm not getting more dislikes than likes, so, and if my audience is now 76% women, it certainly isn't because I'm talking about fucking garbage shit again, like I used to. Like, so I don't really know what's going on here. Where are all these ladies coming from? But yeah, mostly I'm talking to the guys. It's like, you gotta control these women. It is up to you to be the rational one because biologically, you should be more rational. It should be easier for you. It's the way that we go. Again, it's biology. So great that Val brought that up. It's biology. She ignored the fact that men have their own certain set of biology too. But hey, she brought it up. You know what I mean? And then I can look at her and go, you see, that's you being sick right there. Because you're completely ignoring the fact that that works both ways. And then she can go, yeah, okay, I see that was not a rational, well thought out response. And you go, yeah, it was you being sick. And she'll argue the term, whatever. I imagine that's what the problem is with most of you. It's the term, but you're sick. I like sick. It means you can get better. If I said you were terminal, that would be very different. It would mean you have no options. You're fucking terminal. That's it. You're just, you will succumb to the sickness no matter what. But you don't have to. You can get better. Which is another funny thing, point Velda tried to make, was that it was impossible for women to be rational. No. It's very possible for you guys to be rational. You need to do it as often as possible. Because it's just better that way. I'm not saying that having emotions are bad. Certainly not. Absolutely not. You need to have emotions, especially empathy. But you need to have emotions. Emotions are very important. I feel emotions just like anybody else. I have moments of sickness. It was funny because I had a moment of sickness in the fucking video where I'm yelling about Velda's sickness and I said, I'm sick. I have self-realization. I realize when I'm doing it. Right? And you gotta fucking bring that shit back. Cope. But it's not your fault, ladies. Honestly, I really don't think that it's your fault. It's the way that we allow you to be raised. It's the whole never hit a girl thing. The problem with it is you never got your fucking face punched in because you said the wrong fucking thing to somebody. You have that happen to you, and at the very least you become aware of the things that you say. Right? When I was a kid, I thought it was very funny to call this one kid at the park a bitch. And he didn't like it. Me being me back then, I just continued to call him a bitch because I thought it was funny that he didn't like being called a bitch. It wasn't even part of being called a bitch. At that point, it was just, he didn't like that, so I thought that was funny. And him and all his friends chased me down the block and stopped me, and he just punched me in the ribs a bunch, and it was embarrassing. I cried, but it hurt, you know. It was embarrassing. I cried. And one of my friend's dad came fucking barreling down the road, man. They all scattered like roaches, and I just rode home. And I believe before I even knew the term for it, I wailed and reevaluated. Went home. I was upset. I masturbated. Probably where I got that habit from. I masturbated. And I thought to myself, boy, that was fucking dumb. That was not worth the ass beating. And I haven't done that shit since. And I pay close attention to the words that I say to people when I'm face to face with them. Now I'm at a point in my life where I really don't even fucking care. So you will pretty much, if you ever do meet me face to face, this is what you're gonna get. I will tell you to your face you're fucking sick, and I will tell you when you're being sick too. I don't give a shit. Go ahead and hit me. I'll just fucking sue you. Oh yeah, what are those white guys? No, I mean, if I really deserve it, I wouldn't sue somebody, because that's fucked up. But, like, if you just walk up to me and hit me, yeah, fuck you. I'll see you in court, motherfucker. But, yeah, whatever. Like, but that's a problem. When you grow up untouchable, and no matter what you say, or do, or no matter how you act, you're just coddled. You grow up expecting that. And you grow up thinking that people are just going to accept your horse shit because they do. If you're watching that video, like I said, Pierce had a responsibility to rein in his fucking coworkers. To look at that one girl and say, look, what you just said there is not even close to what he's fucking saying. Let's talk about real issues instead of just attacking the man. That was Pierce's job. To keep them on task. To keep them controlled. To keep them calm and rational. To actually talk about the issue. And maybe to come up with solutions, right? Figure out what's going on instead of just guessing at what's going on and thinking maybe I'll be right and get a good gotcha moment here because I need to fucking get him because I'm very upset. It's sick. It's sickness, right? It can be cured. You don't have to be that way. When you're untouchable, you act as if you're untouchable. And that's a problem. And it's a problem you find mostly in women. Because women are the ones raised that way. Guys aren't raised that way. You mouth off to the wrong person, male or female, and you get fucking punched. Right? The only problem is if it's a girl hitting you, you can't hit her back. See my point? Understand? It's part of what makes you sick. The way you're raised. Now, I'm not saying... No, I'm not saying that we should hit women. I'm saying we shouldn't hit anybody. Because we should never be at a point where we're enticing somebody to hit us. Right? There's my rational solution. Men and women need to stop being assholes and stop being assholes. And I would like to ask the men that if there's a situation where a woman is hitting a guy and he hits her back, don't 50 of you fucking jump him and beat his ass. She is hitting him. He has a right to defend himself and doesn't deserve the rest of you to fuck kick the shit out of him because he defended himself. It's another thing that keeps us in control, keeps us oppressed by the matriarchy, which I can actually fucking point to, an actual fucking thing. Nevertheless, it's part and parcel of it all. We allow it to happen, us men, and you women just take every fucking advantage of it you possibly can. This is a problem. This is our issue. And now to discuss, in summation, my boss and many of the women around me, they understand that they're sick. I have brought them to that point. Because I cannot stand to be around women who are willfully ignorant of the fact that they are fucking sick and just don't care. Those kind of women just annoy me. You're not worth knowing. The women that are worth knowing are the ones that realize they're fucking sick And the ones worth talking to are the ones that realize they're fucking sick, and when they hear something they don't like, they don't just fucking flip out. They take a moment and think of something. Right? It's very cool when you find a woman that can do that, but it's also very rare. And it happens at very infrequent times. But we're working on that. Right? So now, without further ado, now I'm going to tell all of you women why you never should have been allowed out of the fucking kitchen. See that? I'll do the tricky editing for her. I'll even set her up. It's hysterical, right? I'm not going to say why women should have never been allowed out of the kitchen. I'm going to throw out a theory that you can mull over for half a second and then yell at me about, or you can actually think about it, consider the implications of what I'm about to say to you, and actually go, that's an interesting thought. And retort with something intelligent, possibly a continuation of the conversation as opposed to just opposition. Right? Wouldn't that be interesting? So I think back to the 50s, and everybody always talked about how great the 50s were. The men went to work, the women stayed at home, Susie Homemaker, and all that kind of stuff. Right? And everything was blissful and wonderful, and everything was great. And you think about that time period, and you figure, well, half of the working force wasn't out there. So it's probably good that we've got more people working out there. Can't argue that. I don't think that we should take away women's right to work. Far from it. I'm fine with women working. Couldn't care less. But when both parents work, there's nobody to take care of the home. And children, that becomes difficult to properly manage. And oftentimes it's a single parent type situation for the kids anyways. I don't know. It gets very weird and awkward. But I think that thousands of years of set up structure of the woman's in the home taking care of the home and the man goes off to work, right? I think when we decided to progress beyond that, what we should have said instead of everybody just go work is the man can work or the woman can work. Somebody should still stay at home, fucking take care of the home, raise a goddamn kid. Right? Now, here's why I say this. If I go off and work my 8-hour day, I am doing 100% of the working 8 hours. Right? If my wife goes out and works for 8 hours of the day, she is also working 100% of the work. Right? Now, together, those two incomes may make 100% of the need monetarily for the home. Right? Because that's the way things have kind of gone. Since there's so many people working, prices have gone up a lot. Right? So, if you have them both working 100% of the expected workout for a single person in the day, right? They come home from work, and the last fucking thing they want to do is clean or do any of that kind of shit. You're home from work, you're done working. I don't want to do more work, right? So things go by the wayside as you're trying to relax. And we've become more self-interested as a people. The reasons we have children nowadays are very suspect. Sometimes it seems like you want to breed little friends. I don't understand that shit. There's very little structure to things nowadays. Parents don't really parent. They expect teachers to parent. That's why there's so many teachers that are expressing worldviews and shit like that to their students. Even in grade school and shit like that, right? Ridiculous. How many people allow their children to be parented by other people. But it's one of those things bred out of necessity, because we both got to work. Right? If we didn't have that, if we had one person at home all the time, be it male or female, doesn't matter to me which, then you'd have somebody there to raise the child yourself, and you wouldn't have the need for other people to raise your kids for you. Right? And maybe we wouldn't have so many little fucking messed up kids turning into little fucking messed up adults that we're now seeing in fucking college being terribly fucked up and sick. Right? I think it's a product of that. I think the experiment has gone on long enough that now we're seeing the effects of it. We're seeing what's happening when parents stop being parents and start being friends, and people that should be friends start being parents. They're pumping your fucking kids full of craziness, right? And then your kids are doing crazy shit, and they're telling them about all this oppression and all this fucking nonsense and the boogeyman of the patriarchy and how he's going to keep you down. But you should fight against it always. What that means is fight against white men. Doesn't mean go out and succeed in spite of the difficulties of life in general. It means just fight against white men. This is what they're filling kids' heads with. This is why we're seeing so much of that shit. So, when the women said, we want to work too, we should have said, fine, that's fine. One of you has to stay at home. Doesn't matter which. The children need to be raised. We have so much concern about the children, their safety, their lives, their futures. But we have no concern for how they're raised. We don't care anymore. Doesn't matter. We should have always cared about that. That should have always been a thing of consideration. I think it's causing many problems. I think we're getting many rifts. And I think the rifts are coming because people just don't know how to cope. They don't know how to deal. We're creating safe spaces where people can go to infantilize themselves and not have to deal with the stress of life, not have to learn how to cope. And then they go back out into the scary world and everything triggers them. And then they have to flee back to their safe spaces because they just don't know how to deal. So they have to have everybody around to sit and tell them about how special they are and how everybody else doesn't matter because they don't agree with you. So clearly they are Nazi scum. We used to get insulted and insult people right back. It was the game we played with each other as human beings. Sometimes it was serious. Sometimes it was for fun. But we understood the difference. We had a coping mechanism. Because we were raised properly, in some cases. And we were told, you're not always going to get your way. Sometimes when you mouth off people, they're going to punch you in the fucking nose. So don't be an asshole. Be a good person. And now kids are told, everybody that doesn't like you is a bad person. You're the only good person. Do whatever you want. It's not the proper way to raise children. So, I think that's an interesting starting point to start off with. Try and get to the root cause of the issues. I think it's very interesting to discuss the way women are raised. I'd like to hear what you have to say about that. I know that's a tough one because you have to accept the fact that women are raised to be untouchable. A lot of women are going to disagree with that. But I'm sorry, you're sick. And I'd like to have a discussion about you know, the transition to everybody gets to work as opposed to one person works and one person stays at home. That got completely forgotten. And I think that has had a major impact on the way children have been raised in the past 60 years. And I think that over the 2 generations that is, the kind of end of one and the beginning of the other, I think that's kind of the reason why we're all falling apart. And I think that's why there's so many people, so few people now that are kind of above all that shit, that kind of have more of a proper understanding of the world, that you don't always get your way. And it was really scary in this last election when I saw the numbers for the actual votes tallied, and that it was the first time that I had ever seen the shift where there were more people that were buying into the nonsense than there were rational people not. I thought it was bad with Obama, but there was a lot of factors there. This one really pointed it out to me. I'm really scared about the next election, and I'm wondering how many more elections we can go through before we are officially either a socialist or a communist country. And I'm hoping I'm long fucking dead by that time. But whatever. I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. I think I'll be very much alive when that happens. But I think that's an interesting starting point to set at, to say this is where maybe things went wrong, and this is maybe why things went wrong. And like I said, I'm not opposed to equality. I'm not opposed to women voting. I am not opposed to women working. I am not opposed to women having free will. I am not opposed to any of that shit. Please don't put those words in my mouth, even though I know that will make no difference. But, I still think that the structure that we had held for thousands of years of one person is a homemaker and one person goes out and provides, I think that was an essential part of our lives, and now it's missing. So, in order to not say that again a third time in a different way, see, it's my sickness. I'm trying to control it. I'm going to end this here. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to throw this thought process out there and see what anybody thought about it. See how many sick women I can get to complain to my boss again. I know that I titled this kind of fucking clickbaity, but I'm trying to lure out the sickness wherever I can find it. It makes me laugh, because whenever it shows itself. Because you guys think that you're not being sick when you fucking leave these comments, but and I know it is kind of one of those catch-22 things, but it's like you can't deny the obvious. It's not like saying, well, you can't take criticism. It isn't even like that. Because, like I said, you can attack the criticism itself and unravel the foundation of that criticism and explain why that criticism is incorrect. That's how you deal with that situation. In this situation, when you go off in a sick rant, and I go, it's you being sick, you really have fucking nothing from there. You either accept that fact, or you try and deny that fact. And denial is like being sick. Doesn't get you anywhere. So, In the end, I am not trying to be malicious, trying to help. That is all.